former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said cabals in Nigeria's oil and gas sector will continue to frustrate the $20 billion Dangote refinery because it is benefiting from refined petrol imports. He disclosed this in a recent interview with the Financial Times. This comes amid the continued crisis Dangote refinery is grappling with in the crude oil supply. Last week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had directed the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to sell crude to Dangote refinery and all the local refineries in Naira. Meanwhile, Obasanjo said, if the refinery goes well, both Nigerians and non-Nigerians will be encouraged to invest in the country. And likewise, the former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, has said that a fuel subsidy removed in June 2023 by President Bola Tinubu's administration has come back due to inflation. He faulted how Tinubu's administration removed fuel subsidies. According to him, the government should have put measures in place before the fuel subsidy removal. His remarks comes amid the ongoing hunger protests in Nigeria. And now let's talk about the protests. The odd events in Nigeria's End Bad Governance protests. Nigerians on the 1st of August 2024 began its End Bad Governance in Nigeria protests, and 5 days in, the protest has recorded some very peculiar events. Several Nigerian states imposed curfews in response to escalating unrest during the protests. Some protesters waved Russian flags and called on Putin to rescue the country, raising concerns about the country's democracy. In the 5 days since the protests began, there have been reports of loss of lives, injuries, damages to public and private properties, external sponsorship, and infiltration of criminal elements into the... Well, it's a speech from the president, quite a long one. We had to look at the details of frauding and what a perspective could be from this. What are the take home? Many people listened to the president and wondered if this speech was able to quell the demands of protesters. Protesters wanting subsidy to be out, change in the cost of commodities within the country, inflation rate being quite concerning. Just as former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said subsidy is back one way or the other because inflation is at a heightened level. We'll be having a conversation with Mr. Kalu Ajah. As Mr. Kalu Ajah joins the conversation this morning, he's a financial planner and analyst, and we'll be discussing on economic concerns of the protests amid the president's speech. Mr. Kalu Ajah, good morning.
How are you doing today?
So good to have you on the show today, despite the fact that it's quite difficult for me to get your sound there. But let's see, probably we'll do the catch-up. Now, the president said he blocks the greed and the profit that smugglers and rent-seekers made, and also the undue subsidy extended to the neighboring countries to the detriment of Nigerians. But this is exactly what the protesters are asking against. They want subsidy to be back. Why? Because of cost of commodities are high and things get to change. Let me first ask this way. What have you made of the protests and the demands of the protesters?
Well, it looks like the federal government and the protesters are talking, but they're not communicating. So the protesters are saying that they are hungry, they want food to eat today. The government is saying we have done these great policies that will give you results tomorrow. So they are both talking, but there's no communication. All the stuff the president has said are very, very good, but they don't address the direct demand of the protesters, that they are hungry. So if you reduce the budget deficit, you've built refineries, 1.6 million barrels per day. It doesn't bring Gary to the guys on the street. That's a problem I think is going on. The president is saying this is what I have accomplished, but he's talking above the heads of the protesters who are asking for something they can hold on to today. So there's that communication gap. I mean, this whole thing is all about cost of living. So you have to address the cost of living today. I get they are saying they've released billions, 5-something billion. But that's going to the state governors, then it's going to trickle down. But the guys need food today. And that's where I think that's what's going on. That's why you see the protests are still happening and all that.
All right, Kalu, good perspective there. You're talking about communication gap, and it brings a conversation from my standpoint. And now the president has said, all we're trying to do to the economy and the country is to take the country forward. We're in the right direction. At a macro level, they're saying, look, more investment is coming in, foreign direct investment is coming in. We're closing the loopholes when it has to do with subsidy and corruption within the realms. But on the other hand, the most important aspect of all of this is for economic from the macro level to drift to the micro level, where the people feel it. Just like former President Olusegun Obasanjo have said, well, no matter how they say subsidy is gone, subsidy is back because there's inflation. How can the president then close the gap? Because Nigerians, especially youths, are on the streets making the demands. And it's like they're telling the president, forget all you're doing. Let us just be better. Keep things the way it was. It's better for us.
I think the two main things that he can do. Number one is food. He's got to either import food or cause the price of food to crash. Food is about 57% of the household budget. So if you make the cost of food go down, we all get a pay raise. That's a direct subsidy that he can do right now. The second is optics. It looks like he's spending too much, reckless spending, lavish spending. He's got to stop it. There's an anger that people can't eat food, but they are spending 21 billion to build a house or to buy private jets. It's an anger. You can explain it all and say, listen, it's for the Air Force, it's for Nigeria, but there's that perception that the leadership is not in tune with the suffering of the people, that the only people are suffering. So if you can bring the price of food down, that's now a micro, you've opened up the port, let the food come in, let inflation fall. That's a pay rise to everybody in Nigeria, everybody. That's one. Then the optics. Fix the optics. Stop the unnecessary spending, the display of wealth. Those two are very, very quick things you can do in the next 30 days. And there will be an effect. The others, like I said, they are macroeconomics. It takes time to show up. And even if it shows up, you can't eat GDP. You can eat Gary. So you've got to really address the direct consequence. Fuel subsidy is back, 3.5 billion, as estimated by Reuters. So that's money going out of Nigeria that should have been gone to investments here in health and education. So we can't afford the subsidy. But you can't tell people that. People have got to eat. Then when they're fed, you can say, hey, we can't afford this subsidy. It looks like only people are paying the price of no subsidy. That's how it looks. And you want to do food and optics, and then that's a very, very quick win for you right there.
Okay, one other part from the president's speech was that of student loan. I was encouraging young people to take advantage of it in the narration about the things he's achieved within the space of 1 year, 6 months that he's been in office. That has done a lot, putting the country in the right direction economically, despite the fact that the people are not feeling it. Now let's look at it.
Yeah.
Students loan, number one. A second aspect of it, a CMG, and he's really spoken about it. How does he get to make the people see this as a positivity at this time that they're really hungry?
Just make it work. The problem with the students' loan and the CNG is that we're not seeing it. It's what they call Nigeria audio. We've had CNG for a year now. I've not seen the buses. The student loan almost for a year. I know it's out now, but still it's not yet out there. If you had student loan already out from last year, we'll be in the second year now, it will be in circulation, and they can point and say, these are the students that have gotten the student loan. So it's a bit more you are showing and you are telling. Same thing with the buses. The buses should have been ready before you remove the subsidy. So as you take the subsidy away, people have the buses. You can say, oh, now you park your car and use a bus. So we're catching up. They are reacting. That's the problem. These are great policies, but where are they? It's still on the drawing board or on the implementation stage. It should have been operational, already running for 1 year. We should be talking of how to expand and make it better, not how to introduce it in the second year when you remove subsidy in the very, very first day. That's the problem.
So in other words, what you're talking about was poor planning from the presidency at first that's put the country at this pedestal. But one other conversation before I let you go would be that of Dangote Refinery. There have been lots of qualms about it. Many people worried about it, considering Obasanjo has talked about a cabal that doesn't want Dangote refinery to be workable in the country. And now the concern are from the presidency and Nigerians who are still having lots of trust when subsidy was removed and expecting that Dangote refinery will be functional and probably they'll get to buy fuel at a lower price. Now lots of debacles. What do they need to do now? Because I wouldn't want to ask you about the politics that's happening. Everyone is aware of it. What do they need to do now from a Dangote refinery's point of view to get the economy working?
I think Dangote is a too big to fail project now in Nigeria. And his problem is the supply of crude oil, not even buying in Naira. He just can't get supply of crude oil. When that refinery was started, oil output in Nigeria was much, much higher. Now it's about 1.6 according to the president. That's still not enough to supply Dangote, supply NNPC, and also give to the international oil companies. So we've got to get the production back up. But Dangote is a strategic, long-term project for Nigeria. It's now too big to fail. So whatever needs to be done to get Dangote working, not just for the PMS, for the export earnings, for the added productivity that Nigeria will get, that needs to be done. Politics aside, it's now, it's simply the largest single project even on the African continent. We shouldn't be debating this. We shouldn't be talking what to do, what not to do. The price will not come down drastically because crude oil is priced in dollars and Naira is very, very weak. But Nigeria can earn dollars if Dangote is operational. So we get back that investment Nigeria invested in Dangote. So we have to get it working, whatever we do. And he needs supply, not just to pay in Naira. He needs a consistent, guaranteed supply of crude oil from Nigeria, even if it's a subsidy. But he's the only refinery today that we have that is functional, can take that volume. So whatever heaven and earth needs to be moved to get crude oil to Dangote needs to happen.
All right, thank you, Kalu, Ajah, for joining the conversation. What's one last word for you? Amid the protest that's taking place in the country, you're a financial expert and a renowned one at that. Many people in Nigeria know you. What last word for the protesters and the government?
I just think everyone needs to, I think the point has been made. I hope the president has heard. I hope he has heard. I don't think what he said addresses the protesters' issues, but I hope he has heard. And I hope he will expand his advisors and hear the other side. I think he's surrounded with people that will tell him yes, and whatever you're doing is good. He needs to hear from people that don't like him and get their point of view. That would help him and that would serve him very good. That's what I'll say. For the protesters, I would say just keep it peaceful. Lots of people have died, so we don't need it to be violent. You can protest without the violence and the destruction and the looting. Keep it peaceful. Make your points, and let's see what happens.
All right, thank you, Kalu, Ajah, for joining the conversation. We really do appreciate your thought all through. We hope to have you next time.
My pleasure.
All right. It's been a story about the economy, a story about business, a story about attraction, the protest that's taking place, and governmental response in that direction. Many analyses and many pictures, but one statement, just as Kalu, Ajah said, is let's hope the presidency have heard Nigerians. And very soon things get to change within the economy. And there's a story around businesses. And here we draw the curtain in today's edition of Business 360. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Vladimir Kim, and thank you for watching.